As a part of the gang unit with APD, were you familiar with a gang YSL?
Yes.
And does YSL go by any specific names?
Young Slime Life. I've heard Young Stoner Life.
Okay. And how are you familiar with Young Slime Life?
I'm familiar with YSL. They, what happened was I've been in, like I said, the gang unit since 2009.
I'm going to object to Ron answering this question.
All right. Let me ask you this. Was there an iteration of YSL prior to the name YSL?
Yes.
And what was that gang called?
Rock Crew.
And were you familiar with Rock Crew?
Yes.
And how were you familiar with Rock Crew?
From gang investigations while I was an investigator in the gang unit.
And around what year or time was there a transition from Rock Crew into YSL?
Apologize. I'm going to object cumulative.
Sustained.
Okay. Let me ask you, are you familiar with another gang, YFN If Gang?
I am.
And how are you familiar with that gang?
They are Inglewood Family Bloods. YFN is a subset of the Inglewood Family Bloods.
Okay. And based on your knowledge of gangs, did those two gangs have a rivalry?
Yes.
Jack, that made 704. No, jurors can figure that out. We don't need expert testimony.
Overruled. And can you please use your mic? It'll make it easier. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry. Wish it weren't the case in here that this sounds so complicated, but it is.
And just approximately how long has that rivalry been in place?
Asked and answered cumulative.
Sustained.
Have you heard of the term gang war?
Yes.
And how have you heard of that term gang war?
Objection, relevance, and self-explanatory.
Sustained. I mean, not relevance, but it is self-explanatory.
As part of the gang unit, were you familiar with the facts of the Donovan Thomas murder and the retaliatory shooting surrounding Donovan Thomas's murder?
Yes.
And how were you familiar with the Donovan Thomas murder and the retaliatory shootings surrounding Donovan Thomas's murder?
I was assigned to ATF as a task force officer, so operation planners is actually a federal name that we gave the investigation. So whenever the Donovan Thomas was murdered, the gang war ensued and several shootings around the city. So APD and ATF came together to investigate those shootings and to try to stop the gang war.
And were you involved in any of those investigations?
Yes.
How were you involved in those investigations?
Like I said, I was a task force officer with ATF. What happened was we all got together, the gang unit at APD and special agents at ATF. We all got together and we would meet like weekly about the shootings because they were rapid and happening so much that we had to do something. So we all used to get together and we kind of divided up the cases between different officers, investigators, agents, or whatever to, like I said, try to stop the gang war.
Okay. And did you have any particular focus for you as a part of that kind of collaborative effort?
Yes, because I was a federal agent. I was tasked with handling anybody that was a federal target, meaning that if they could go to federal court opposed to state court, I was involved in those cases because I was a federal task force officer. So I could prosecute a case federally when my partners over at APD couldn't because they were not task force officers.
And as a federal task force officer, did you find that you were involved with more of the YSL side of the gang war or the YFN side of the gang war?
Sustained.
Okay. What were the two entities that were engaged in this gang war?
Asked and answered cumulative.
Sustained.
In preparation for your testimony today, have you had the opportunity to review some of the reports that came in back in 2015?
Yes.
Have you also had an opportunity to review some of the operation planners report that summarized some of the incidents that occurred in 2015?
Yes.
Have you also had the occasion to review a video from Magic City?
Yes.
And we'll speak about this more, but have you reviewed any type of music in this case in order for your preparation for your testimony today?
Yes.
Based on your review of the reports and your knowledge of the events in 2015, in your opinion, was there a gang war going on in the city of Atlanta?
I'm clearly going to object to cumulative 704B, and this is the fourth gang expert that the state has called in the same exact events.
All right, well, one of them was, all of yesterday's testimony from that person was excluded, so.
I didn't mean to interrupt the report. Actually, that person testified 3 previous times.
I know, and that was not excluded. And I would imagine, why don't y'all approach?
Now, I want to go specifically, Detective Underwood, to the week leading up to Donovan Thomas's death. Okay, and from the review of the records, do you recall Donovan Thomas being killed on January 10, 2015?
Yes.
Right. I want to go back to that week, earlier in that week. Are you aware of, through your own personal knowledge of what was occurring in 2015, a fight at Club Crucial?
Yes.
And who was involved in that fight in Club Crucial?
Kenneth Copeland and Kevin Watts.
After that fight at Club Crucial, did you become, and I'm going to ask just very specifically, about a shooting outside of Club Crucial?
Yes.
Right. And on that same day, Mr. Arnold being stopped by police along with another individual?
Yes.
All right. After that incident on January 6th, were you aware of any other incidents that occurred that week of 2015 before Donovan Thomas's murder or the killing of Donovan Thomas?
I can't think of offhand except for think over at maybe at a what they call it, it was a gambling spot in Zone 3 where a windshield was damaged and words were, I guess, exchanged or had about the windshield being damaged between rival gang members.
What about a shooting at TIG Studios?
Yes.